Hi there, everybody. This is Lee, and I'm talking about the Berniecrats again. The down ballot candidates who lean towards Bernie Sanders. They endorsed Bernie Sanders throughout the primary season, or they exhibited their Bernie Sanders like embrace of progressive issues and a platform. And so I've been talking about them because I consider down ballot candidates crucial to the political process. They represent the people directly at the local level and at the state level. And then sometimes at the federal level if they go on to U.S. Congress or the Senate. And sometimes they're governors. So I use the Berniecrats list to find out who are the down ballot candidates that lean towards Bernie Sanders. And then, of course, I use the 2016 candidates list that's at the Green Party website to see who are the down ballot Greens that lean towards Jill Stein. I figure that either one or both would be great to have in office. Fortunately, they do not run against each other. They're in opposite or not opposite each other, but they're in alternate races, so they do not run against each other. If you see a Green running for office, they are not up against a progressive Democrat. They know better than to do that. If you see a Green running for office, it's likely that the progressive Democrat lost their primary and are no longer in the race, or there was never a progressive Democrat to start off with. And so the Green has entered the race to be the progressive alternative to a center right down ballot candidate. And these are important because of Trans-Pacific Partnership. We need people who are willing to stand up and oppose these trade deals that violate our U.S. Constitution, and then also just common decency towards the environment and towards labor standards. What we've seen with this Black Snake Pipeline in North Dakota, Trans-Pacific Partnership brings more of that violence and repression against people who oppose these impositions and these violations by these multinational corporations. And that's why we need either Berniecrats or Greens down ballot to go into office. And so it's a good idea to pay attention to what they're doing. We're down to the last four primaries. And so, of course, I'm back at the Berniecrats list. I'm going to see what the last four primaries are real quick. Delaware, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and New York. They will be voting for the down ballot candidates on September 13th. So that's the very last chance to send progressives through the last hurdle to the general election. There are two Berniecrats going through the primaries in Delaware. There are 8 in Rhode Island, 23 in New Hampshire, and then 16 in New York. New York will be voting on their state and local down ballot candidates on September 13th. They already voted at the federal level for Zephyr Teachout, and then at the presidential level earlier this year in April. So New York will be voting again. And I find these numbers worthy of note because they've increased greatly. I said that I have two Berniecrats lists. One is a list that I copied immediately following the California primary. And I did that because I learned that the person who had been keeping the list up to date had left the Bernie Sanders campaign the day after the California primary and had joined the Clinton campaign. And so I didn't know what was going to become of the list, so I copied it and saved it. And I have that list from June 8th, 2016 of the Berniecrats list. And I call that the original because it's what Bernie Sanders originally lent his name to during the primary prior to his endorsement of Hillary Clinton. So this is the Bernie Sanders original primary down ballot list while he was going through the primaries. And then there's the list that's still online that's been updated. It's been laying dormant for a long time throughout most of the summer. And then recently there had been updates made to it. And so I looked at it September 2nd, and it had been updated. And then also it's been updated again on September 9th. And that's probably due to Massachusetts having finished its primary on September 8th. And so there's been another update. I would say that on September 2nd, it looked like 260 of 407 Berniecrats had won their office, and the success rate had been 63.88%. As of Massachusetts and some further updating, it appears that the numbers have increased. And so it's 288 of 437 Berniecrats that have won the primary. And so that brings the total up to 65.90%. So the list has been updated. There's been additions. We have the original Berniecrats list of people who endorsed Bernie Sanders through the primaries of this spring up until June before the California primary. This is the original Berniecrats list that I have. And then now there's been so many additions, approximately 100 additions have been made to this list. I did feel a little bit of concern because I felt two different ways about that. Of course, the more Berniecrats, the merrier. But then I said, well, there are people who expressed loyalty to Bernie Sanders prior, and then now there's some other Johnny-come-latelys adding themselves on the list that maybe people have figured out that Hillary Clinton does not have coattails, that she is not only struggling to lead the Democratic Party and to lead her own campaign and doing a miserable job at both, but she is damaging the campaigns of the Democratic Party members down ballot. She does not have coattails. She is struggling herself. She is so severely disliked that the unease is affecting the down ballot candidates. And so it seems like they have figured out recently that it's better to align themselves with Bernie Sanders and be a Berniecrat than to align themselves with Hillary Clinton and be a Clintonista. We saw this already throughout the year. Bernie Sanders' populism won the day. It took a massive amount of election fraud and media collusion and corruption to actually prevent Bernie Sanders from winning. But his issues, his platform, his populism won the day, and it's just coming to pass. What we already knew is being manifested, where Hillary Clinton is killing her own political party because of her selfishness and her inability to be a public servant rather than a politician. She is causing a lot of dislike and repulsion. And so the down ballot candidates have seen this, and those who did not endorse for Bernie Sanders when he needed them most of all, and that means earlier this year, prior to the California primary, those who didn't endorse him then, that maybe stayed neutral or on the sidelines or aligned themselves with Hillary Clinton, they wised up and saw what everybody already knew, that Hillary Clinton did not win this primary. Her vision of establishment, wealth-centered corporate politics did not win this primary. Bernie Sanders did. Hillary Clinton lost. Her platform lost. Her incrementalism lost. Her pragmatism lost. Her corporate focus lost. Establishment lost. Populism won. Populism won on the right side of the aisle. Populism won on the left side of the aisle. Hillary Clinton is spoiling the Democratic Party, who had a chance to win against Donald Trump easily if only she had not colluded with the Democratic Party and the media against Bernie Sanders. But people know. People know. The down ballot candidates know. They're not aligning themselves with Hillary Clinton. They are aligning themselves with Bernie Sanders. And so you see this uptick in additions to the Bernie Sanders Berniecrats list all of a sudden, where people are saying like, oh, the wind's blowing this way, let me join in. And so I'm looking at Maine because I have the original list in front of me. And originally there were, let's see if I can find it. Originally in Maine, there were 5 Berniecrats. No, sorry, I said Maine. I mean Massachusetts. In Massachusetts, oh, actually, there were 12. There were 12. And so it looks like 8 of the 12 won. So again, like I said, Bernie Sanders has won the day. He's won. His Berniecrats have won Massachusetts. There were 4 losses, but you know the northeast area of the United States did trend towards Bernie Sanders. There were some notations on here with Bernie by the name, but now there's notations that say our revolution. And so it's our revolution that appears to be handling this list now. So I don't know what really is going on here. But anyway, 8 out of the 12 that were here for Massachusetts won their primaries September 8th. So I'm going back to look at Delaware. On the original list, there were, let's see if I can count them. For Delaware, there were, actually there had been 2 listed Berniecrats on this list. One was a Republican. There was a Republican candidate that actually endorsed for Bernie Sanders, and that person has since been removed from this list for reasons unknown. But anyway, Delaware is up for voting, and according to this list, Kim Williams is the only one who's sitting here. She's up for a state representative. She's an incumbent, 19th district, and she endorsed for Bernie Sanders. Well, actually, she endorsed our revolution. Still not entirely sure what that means. And I'm gonna check the second list, which is the later list, to see if it looks the same. Yes, Kim Williams. And so again, she actually did not endorse Bernie Sanders. She's got the meme on here for our revolution. So the lists are kind of modified a little. I'm going to go ahead and just go on to see what Rhode Island looks like. And let me flip back to my other screen. Rhode Island. On the original Berniecrats list, there were 9 candidates for Rhode Island, and not everyone has a political affiliation by their name, but it looks like they're primarily Democrats. They're running for offices such as state senate and state representative. You can go to berniecrats.net and see that list for yourself. And I'm going to check real quick something else. I want to see. Check on Rhode Island. Let me see what the original list looks like. Okay, originally there were only 4 Berniecrats from Rhode Island. They were Jim Sheehan, J. Aaron Regenberg, Nicholas Del Menico, and Bill Dewar. And that was, as of June, there were 4 Berniecrats on that list. Today, with this list, there's been some additions, and there's actually 9. So 5 Berniecrats came from somewhere and decided they wanted to add themselves in. Okay, so Let's see. I'm also going to look at the next state, and that's New Hampshire. And currently in New Hampshire, there's 23 Berniecrats on the ballot. And I remember looking at that number because I hadn't figured out that there had been so many additions. And I said, this seems kind of more than I remembered. Now there's 23 Berniecrats for New Hampshire, whereas with the list in June, there had been only 4. So 19 candidates decided they were Berniecrats, or they were part of the Berniecrats Network, maybe added here by our revolution. And I'm going to say the names of the originals. Sean O'Connor, U.S. Representative. Martha Fuller Clark, State Senate. Oh, okay. Sean O'Connor, U.S. Representative, New Hampshire, 1st District. Martha Fuller Clark, State Senate, New Hampshire, 21st District. Joshua Edge Jutant, State Representative, New Hampshire. Jackie Killey, State Representative. She's an incumbent for New Hampshire, Stratford, 4th District. They all endorsed Bernie Sanders earlier this year, prior to the end of the California primary. They are the original Berniecrats. If you want to see the full list, the full number of 23 Berniecrats, you can go to the online list. But I'm going to try to have these names spelled out in the notes so you can see who was the original Berniecrat and who are the additions, the late additions. Okay, and for New York, it looks about the same in New York. And again, I'm going to have the names of the original people from New York who originally endorsed Bernie Sanders. And if you want the full list, you can go online and see what the current list looks like. And I hope that makes sense, what I just said, because there were people who endorsed for Bernie Sanders when he needed them most of all, when he was going through the presidential primary. And then there are people who added themselves in once they saw that Hillary Clinton didn't have any coattails, and they said, well, I guess I better jump on the Bernie Sanders coattails because Hillary Clinton doesn't have any. And as a matter of fact, she's causing harm because people are demexiting from the Democratic Party. These are closed primaries. Is there going to be anyone left to vote for me? So Hillary Clinton has been driving away support from the Democratic Party. People are demexiting because of Hillary Clinton. And so naturally, these politicians know which way the wind blows. They don't have to be weathermen to know that. So they've kind of come late to the party and they're endorsing for Bernie Sanders. But I think it's worthwhile to look at their social media, their websites, their public statements to see if they're really progressive. The originals clearly are. They endorsed Bernie Sanders early. They made their choices. They had the integrity and foresight to do that. The ones that came late, that you'll find on the website, I think further research is warranted. And I will say that as far as I have seen, they are not going to be opposite any green. But if you do see green on the ballot, it is always safe to vote for the Green Party candidate, because if they are running against a Democrat, it's because that Democrat candidate has shown that they are center right, willing to cross the aisle to work with Republicans, willing to vote for things such as Trans-Pacific Partnership in order to support the president rather than the people in their districts. They are willing to put money over people and profits over people and profits over planet too. And so we definitely want the progressive. So if you ever do see green on the ballot, it is safe to vote for the green down ballot. If you see, and that's why you need to know the names of the people that you're voting for. But if you do see a green, vote for the green. They are definitely progressive. They're running against someone who is not progressive, and that's why they entered the race in the first place. We've seen that in Massachusetts. Not Massachusetts, but in Michigan, where the Greens decided to run for office because the Democratic and Republican parties failed to take care of the drinking water, failed to put the health of the people above the profits that they were receiving. And so the Greens have risen as basically a watchdog group. And that's part of the reason why they need to go into office. Green Party is our watchdog against greed. So hopefully, if you do see a green on the ballot, you know that these are your watchdogs. This is your check on corporate overreach and corporate power. They are definitely a people-centered campaign. And then also, when you look at this Berniecrats list, know that it's not as originally intended. There's been some adjustments and some fiddling around with it. It's still useful to know who is in the race. But there's links here where you can give a closer look to the background of the candidate. And I think that's worthwhile to do your research so you know who's going into office. Again, Delaware, Rhode Island, New Hampshire, and New York are going to be voting this Tuesday, September 13th. You have a few days to look at these candidates and decide who you want and make a decision whether or not to vote for them. Good luck.